Have you ever heard of any kingdom being ruled and there's no ruler? There's no one who's ruling this kingdom. Personally, I've never heard of it. But it's quite unfortunate. But again, remember, no kingdom is ever run blindly. If you're not understanding what I'm saying, I'm talking about Kenya. It had a king who just rested the other day, and he was put in his final resting place yesterday, give or take at around 5 p.m. East African time. Who am I talking about? Raila Amolo Odinga. And as one of the cabs had said that yes, the king is gone, but the crown is still alive. Metaphoric, ironic, call it what you want to call it. But for me, myself and I do say that the princess is coming for the crown. If you're joining me for the first time, welcome to the SMS, the Survival Men series. Hope you enjoy this session. So, there's been a lot of speculation, there's been a lot of rumors on what actually happens. There's been a lot of second thinking, there's been a lot of, I don't know even how to call it, about what exactly happens when one has lost the wife or the husband, according to the Luo culture. This is my take on it. Why am I saying so? To be able to understand these myths, to be able to understand these traditions, to be able to understand these customs, you need to be inside them, or someone needs to tell you. Now here comes the funny part. There's no book that has ever been written. So there's no benchmarking. You go to individual A, they tell you as they believe. You go to individual B, they'll tell you as they were told. You go to individual C, they'll tell you as they had. I'll start again. Individual A is what they believe in. Individual B is what they were told. And individual C is what they've heard. So there's no clear path or somewhere that it has been written about the customary traditions that are supposed to be performed when the individual was announced was dead, before the burial and after the burial. Now, I'll touch on a few things, but just as I'll put this disclaimer, these are not my thoughts. These are not my imaginations. I just came across them and tabulated them for you. Kindly do not crucify me upon them. And remember, as I said, that those who believe in, that those who've been told, and that those people who've heard. Seeing, I've not heard about it. Someone who said, I saw it happen. Remember, these are traditions, and each and every community, most probably in Africa, they have their own traditions and custom that must be followed to the letter. Failure to which, it's again imagined that the consequences can be fatal, if not lethal. For those who are joining me once again for the first time, my name is Guru87. Let's dive right into it. So, the unspoken rites of the Luo community. What do you understand by the Luo community? They come from the western part of Nyanza. In reflection to the death of Raila Amolo Odinga, I'll just touch but a few of them so that I can enlighten you, so that you people of the internet, no one can come and lie to you again that these things have happened, these things have been said, oh, you know, so and so it happened. At least for you do not come from Kenya, for you do not come from the Luo community. We'll get to understand, we'll get to jackal in, because again, remember, some of these unspoken customary traditions and whatnot are not shouted, no one screams about them. They're only spoken about in low tones. So join me as we talk about them. Without further ado, we'll go upon the unspoken Luo rites and the rites after the loss, before the loss. Sorry, it's after the loss, during the loss, and after burial. Let's dive into it. So, what are some of these stories? What are some of these theories these people talk about? I'll talk about the number one, as you can see in your screen. The night with the departed. Number two is the breaking of the door stick. Number three is the cleansing of the stranger. And number four is the inheritance and the shaving. The codes of entitlement. And final feast and legacy. I know, I can't feel it myself. So, the night with the departed. Here there's a lot of speculation. People tend to think that to some extent you go and sleep with this particular individual. There's another friend of mine yesterday actually called me and asked me like, is it true that you people, you lie with the dead? I laughed myself. I just laughed. I'm sure even most of you are wondering. Yeah, you've been asking that question. And there's been a lot of speculation outside there that the Luo, they sleep with the deceased or the dead. No, that's not the case. So, according to my understanding, remember, I had put a disclaimer. These are my thoughts. It's not the final nail in the coffin. Neither can I have someone or somewhere that I can truly confirm. But I'm speaking of my own experiences. So first things first. What usually happens is that when the deceased is brought in the homestead, it is traditional, it is part of the customs that they have to sleep either inside their house. Most probably they're usually placed, definitely there is a coffin, they're usually placed in the sitting room, on top of a table or on top of stands, if you guys have stands, or like a small chariot there. I've never seen where someone goes and sleeps next to them. It's just placed somewhere in case of rain that they're covered. And it is traditionally said that they have to be inside their own house. At this point, mourners are allowed to come, view the body, and go or walk away. In this particular time, if your sitting room is big, they're usually placed in the middle of their own homes, of their own houses, where mourners can come in a circular motion, view the body, and walk away. Depending on the stature of this particular individual, if they were politicians like the Honorable, the late Raila Amolo Odinga, they were placed in a makeshift tent, mostly called the gazebo. It's like a 20 by 20 if I'm not wrong. Because of the magnitude of people, the numbers of people who would want to walk in and out of the house, considering security purposes, tidiness, and all the hula baloo that lies with the traditional aspects or the ones that are being conducted during that particular viewing of the body at that night that the individual came and slept into the house. Remember, most communities, the deceased never sleeps in their house. In fact, some, if they die very early in the morning, by noon they're buried. Some, they remove them or they go and get them from the morgue or the mortuary, the burial day. But for the Luo, it is customary. You have to spend a night at your own home, in your own house. If not in your own house, just next to your house, there's usually a gazebo. So for clarification purposes, as far as I'm concerned, I've never seen, neither have I ever heard that someone sleeps or spends the night next to a coffin. It's usually or to a dead body. It's usually inside a coffin and it's placed in the middle of the house where mourners can walk in and out as they continue viewing the body. And depending on your stature, depending on your background, if you're a politician or maybe you're someone who goes to church and you're an elderly person, then definitely the number of people is bound to be so high. The number of mourners is bound to be so high and too many. And again, remember, for security purposes and tidiness purposes, or the traditional aspect that they may want to conduct at this particular time, most people put them outside the house in a makeshift tent called a gazebo. It's a 20 by 20 in measurement, where you're well covered and anyone else can just walk in pay their last respect. To some extent, some of them even go wail around. So just to refute those kinds of thoughts and decisions, there's nothing at no given time does anyone sleep with them. That's why it's called Budo. It's a vigil, beside the body. Budo. Budo is a Luo name. Budo is like, you guys are spending the night there. This is when the body has come. Remember in the previous video, I'd mentioned for you all the processes of how a body is picked, how the announcement of the deceased is being made to the homestead, the preparations, the burial ceremony, etc. Now this is that particular night. These are some of the unspoken things that are not told. They're not even shouted upon, and they're not even scripted somewhere where you can benchmark and say, hey, by the way, you guys, we forgot to do part A, part B, part C, part D. So, as it has been written, the widow spends the night beside the deceased body during the Budo vigil to cleanse the lingering spirit's ties and protect herself and her children from the chira, the defilement of death. The intimate ritual is believed to release the husband's spirit and prepare her life ahead. So let me clarify that. You're not necessarily sleeping beside the body, no. You guys, the body has been placed in a coffin. It's just in the middle of the house. And what happens at this particular time? Mourners are allowed to walk in. If the widow so wishes, or the widower so wishes to come and sit next to the husband, well and good. Next to the wife, well and good. If they wish again to go and sleep in their own room, it's well and good. At no given time is the body removed from the coffin and being placed on the bed for you to sleep with. Sleeping doesn't mean necessarily sleeping as most of us are thinking, like you have to lay with them and have an intimacy. No. Who has done that? Kindly, if you've experienced that in any other community, kindly drop a comment in the comment section. Let's engage. Here, we also have a point number 2 where it's written dreams and farewell. What are these dreams about? It is a customary for the widow to dream a final intimacy with the husband. During this vigil, elders believe these dreams grant us a farewell, allowing her to symbolize releasing him and being in the process of emotional separation. I can confirm that it happens. There's some dream that you must have. It happens, trust me. I'm a living proof. It happens. Where you tend to dream that you're having intercourse with your spouse, either the man or the husband. It happens, I think, across all communities. It symbolizes that the deceased has let you go. They've released you to go in peace. Now, there's a debate that what if it doesn't happen? As far as I'm concerned, I've not seen anyone who has come and said that it never happened. Again, these are my thoughts. I've not received anyone who has stood by their words and said it never happened to me. Most of the people I've engaged with, they said it happened. About the age bracket, now again I said, I'm not so sure. I'll only speak for what I know. So yes, it is true. It's like you're dreaming. That's why it's called a dream and farewell, where the deceased lets you go. Point number 3, community and support. Children and relatives gather in adjustment rooms, recounting the death details and the arriving of the king. The communal act builds a shared narrative of innocence and loss, creating a productive shield against suspicion and fostering collective grief. At this particular time, that particular night, people give the part of their stories. For those who were with the deceased before the deceased left us, for those who had a good time with him in his last days, people give they recount most of the stories they had. For those of you who watched the burial ceremony of the late Raila Amolo Odinga, or anyone who stood up and spoke positively about this guy, that he told me this before he went, we were with him this particular day, they know what I'm talking about. Have you ever wondered why most of them came and said, I was speaking with him, I was doing this? Have you asked why all of them are saying? Because it's part of the tradition. You have to send the deceased away in good faith, in good spirits. you must praise them. You must at least clarify that before they left, they did ABCD to me. They had told me to do ABCD. I never had anyone, including the very own president, the Right Honorable Ruto. He never mentioned anything negative. Everyone was pouring and showering the deceased with blessings, with mighty words. I was told ABCD. He did to me ABCD. We had planned that next week ABCD. We were doing ABCD. What does that tell you? It's the community support. People are engaging. People are telling us about the good times they had with this particular individual. Why is that so? So, as Ali said, usually that is what entails mostly in the first stages, which is the vigil, the dreams of and the farewell. Last but not least, at this particular place, it's what you call the community support. So, what are some of the symbols of farewell and release, as I explained earlier on, is that the widow is expected to dream to the final intimacy with the husband, a symbolic act believed to release his spirit, prepare her soul for future life. These dreams are seen as crucial and emotional and spiritual closure. The herbal interventions. So, remember I was telling you there's some instances, I'm just assuming if these dreams do not appear. According to some culture, some info, and I put a disclaimer that I gathered, is that they tend to say if they don't appear, most of them they'll ask you in a very coded and secret language. Like you can't lie to them because, again, it is alleged that some things may start happening. I don't know how true this is. That's what I'm telling you. In the information that someone has told me, I'll say I've been told. And those ones that I've seen myself, I'll just say I saw myself. And as I said, I'll repeat again, there's a disclaimer. These are just my thoughts and my opinions. They're not the final nail of the coffin. They're not the gospel truth. So, if the individual, the widower, does not undergo or does not have those dreams, other people call it wet dreams, the herbal people now come in. How they come in is a very I've tried to make it be so normal, be so formal, so that we don't end up twisting or shaking the tree too much. You know what I mean. Herbal interventions. If no dream occurs, the elders burn herbs to invite visions. This pattern underscores the belief that they sleep in a ritual space where grief can be negotiated with and the living can earn permission to move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, people of the internet, this is just basic. You people, for those who are just joining me for the first time, you can drop a comment there. What you know about these herbal things. From what I picked and what I heard, some of them I'm not even allowed to say them here. There's a certain community that it does happen. And true to their words, they do most of the funniest and the most dumbest thing you can think. If you want me to tell you, you'll have to wait and watch the next video. These ones are not even spoken of. These ones are not even mentioned. These ones, they're whispered. It's just in the weeds. They're whispered of what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do. At no given time will you find someone even talking about them. Like, I'm sure most of you don't know they exist. In that herbal part. Moving forward. There's what we call the breaking of the door stick. I don't know if it's settling in well with you guys. When we talk of breaking of the door stick, there are two versions. There are two versions that I picked from this one. Some will plug a certain piece of roofing sheet on top of the house, just a piece of it, or cut it and go and throw it away, or just throw it outside the gate there, or whatever. Some will break a certain piece of wood if the main door is made of wood, and after breaking it, it's like the owner of the house, if it was the husband, most probably in this case, shall have been told to keep off. Now, this one only happens if, again, I was made to understand, if these couples were young, say, not early 40s, if I'm not wrong. Because for this particular instance, I'm not sure, I'm not privy to it. If this woman was been left with her behind, or this man has been left behind, is of older age, most of these customary and traditions won't apply too much for them, because they're not seeking to be married again, or be remarried again, or marry again. It mostly happened for the young ones, those who are still in the early 40s and below. 50s, I'm not quite privy, but to the information that I gathered, the issue of removing a piece of roofing sheet, the issue of breaking a piece of wood from the door, it majorly happens, or mostly happens, from those who are young. Because here comes an instance, maybe the widow who has been left behind is too young, and she decides, like, I'm still too young, I'm still having a whole life ahead of me, and I can get married again. So those are challenging questions. What if they had kids or a kid? At most cases, you can leave the kids with the grandparents if they are there, and so may it be that you wish so, or you can go away with them. I've seen those who've gone with them, I've seen those who've left them behind. That is, if this lady will want to get married. If it's the man who wants to marry again, also the same is applicable, but in a different way. Like, you have to remove something also from the house to symbolize that your wife has completely left the particular house. So the question was asking, what of those people are living in rented house? I haven't found that answer again. Remember, there's no documentation you can pin someone down with, like, what of this and this. All these are imaginable or imaginary rules and regulations, customs and traditions that are usually there, that are practiced to this very date, the year 2025. Now, let's dive deep into it. And for those who are joining in for the first time, my name is Kunguru87. Thank you very much for joining. Welcome to the Survival Men series. We've abbreviated it with the SMS. So, this breaking of that piece of wood or something, we have a ritual act on it, and it said at dawn, the widow and the brother-in-law wrecked the door from its socket and carried the splintered wood to the gate, symbolically breaking the husband's authority over the household. This act announces the end of his rule. Yes, some people break the whole door, depending on the kind of makeshift house that was. Because remember, back in the days, most of the main doors were made of bamboo. Not nowadays, you find people have made the iron or the steel doors. That's why if it's not the door, it's a piece of roofing sheet. Or if it's not a piece of roofing sheet, if it was a grass-thatched house, the house where the roof is made of grass, they'll remove like a heap of it. Again, it's on a case-to-case basis. What was the significance of this is that for the widow, the act of breaking the stick is a physical manifestation for her internal collapse, turning household timber into public declaration of shattered dominion and step towards renewal. It signifies that they're starting all over again. And remember, at this particular point also, there were some rumors that for the Luo culture, if the husband dies, the brother was inheriting. So again, it's in a case-to-case basis. How the inheritance is to take about, I'll discuss it in another video of mine, where I jump right to it. I don't want to keep you anxious, but there's a lot of performance or traditional customary things that have to be done before you just say that I'm taking my brother's wife. Necessarily, it's not what is being spread outside there. Remember, do not talk about something that you're not aware of. Do not talk about something you've heard. Do not talk of something you've just come across it. You must have the facts. Remember, whoever claims must prove. Don't say something and you can't prove it beyond any reasonable doubt. So there's what we call the public declaration. The sound of breaking that stick is believed to scare away the spirit of death, protecting the family from outside misfortune. Spectators remain silent, acknowledging the widow's transition to the community's role of supporting her. This support is not what you think. It's just a declaration that she's been left alone. She's up for grabs. Not like she's a trophy or something that is being competed for. It's like she's continuing to finish the customary rules and procedures. There are some have heard that there's a pole that they have to I don't know, go around it a couple of times. There's some have heard that they have to cook some kind of food and leave it overnight. The list is just endless. Again, as I said, it's on a case-to-case basis. I hope this is self-explanatory. If you've seen I've missed something, you can also as well just drop a comment down there in the comment section, and I'll be gladly with our team to respond back to you as possible. Urinating on a broken beam. Now, this one sounds awkward. This one sounds a bit complex. This one sounds a bit discomforting, but yes, it does happen. Again, this one also applies to those that are willing to get married, both genders, either the widow or the widower, if they plan to get married. Also, this one I was meant to understand it mostly happened to them. Here is where the widow urinates in a broken beam, watched discussed by the brother-in-law. This acts through humiliation, though it's humiliating, but it's believed to desecrate the husband's authority and protect the family from lingering evil spirits and misfortune. Quite some interesting fact there. You know, they tended to assume there's some lingering bad spirit walking outside there, lingering. You know, the word lingering is like it's searching for someone who's sitting idle. Basically, it's just an assumption. There's no bad spirit that walks around outside there. The dead have already departed, they've gone. It's hell or heaven, if those places do exist. So, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I'm knowledgeable, I've not encountered or seen anything that suggests otherwise upon this particular invention. So again, it's on a case-to-case basis of who does what, when, and why. Because an act like this, it depends. Beam, someone will ask, what is a beam? Beam is maybe a corner of the house, either behind the house or that pole that I was telling you. I've no idea where it's usually placed. Is it beside the house, in front of the door house? Again, the cases they vary, because last time I checked, there's another one of our greatest YouTuber in Africa went to another homestead, and it was he was saying that when the man of the house dies, he's usually buried directly in front of the house. This one is to protect them, so someone cannot come and take over their family. So the question was asking myself, what if this lady is young, or what if this man is young and he needs to marry again, or the widow decides to get married? What happens next? Again, there's a certain community, they each do practice that the person who's dead, the widower, is usually buried inside. They know, for them, they have big hearts, the house. They should bury it inside. How true to that is, I can't actually disclose, because again, as I said, I put a disclaimer. It's not good to speak about someone else's culture yet you don't know nothing about it. Again, facts are very stubborn, as it has been said earlier on. So we have the codes of defilement. Codes of defilement. This is a physical mark. It's not actually engraving some stickers on, it's not actually like the engraving of some funny stickers on someone's body. No, it depends again on culture to culture. Like the Maasai, those who had cattle outside there, you've seen them. Those who have the regalia, the ones who come from Narok County or Kajiado County, I believe they put some mark on someone's body, or even the Southern Sudanese. For the Luo also, more or less it happens like that. So there's a strip of smoked goat hide known as Kode. It is tied around the widow's waist or wrist, making her ritually impure and sexually quarantined. This is visible symbol enforces her in isolation and signals her altered status to the community. I know most of you are not keen about these things. Have you ever asked yourself those beads ladies put on their necks or on they place them on their waist? There's a lot of mythical imaginations. There's a lot of illusions about them, why they put them. I'll speak about that in my other video, because again, a lot of people say it's because of beauty. A lot of women say it's to make their waist become round. A lot of individuals have said it helps them to know if they're becoming fatter or more, their weights are becoming more bigger. A lot of people are saying it's to entice their men. A lot of people are saying that it's some kind of voodoo or black magic for that matter. Again, I'm not quite sure or privy to that matter, so I cannot actually say the exact purposes of this. So back to the Luo community. That head of skin is usually tied around the waist, or most probably what I've seen is at the wrist or at the arm of the lady at most cases. Though it used to happen a long time, but nowadays I don't see it. I saw it, I think, twice in my life being above ground. I've only seen it twice. Of late, I've not seen it. I don't know if that particular tradition is fading away, or some people just choose to wear the ones that go in their waist because it's a taboo for you to undergo this customary planning in the midst of people to know that you are undergoing them. It's usually done in secret. Remember, as I said, the unspoken customs and the unspoken traditions. Yes, it happens where they're not spoken. So it's not like someone should pinpoint, so and so is undergoing that particular thing. No. It should be. It's like a secret code. It's like a secret initiation process that is being undertaken by this particular party. So there's also daily monitoring where the female in-laws check if the code to ensure that it remains in place to enforce the widow's quarantine. These practices underscores the community role of enforcing purity and protection in the family contamination. So they need to check because, again, as I was telling you, that for people undergoing this particular initiative, once let's assume this person is a millennial and their spouses are deceased, most of the time you'll find that. So most of the times, these people, it tends to be assumed that their blood is hot. If you know what I mean by the blood is hot, you can just put down a comment down there in the comment section. So, but this particular time, it is assumed that they might at least or to some extent fall off the wagon and try and go and misbehave. So once you've already tied these particular things, it is prudent, it is very, very vital that anyone who tends to have any act or any thought of messing around with you, then by that signal, they'll see that this individual is undergoing this kind of initiation. So it would be very, very unfair for them to do that to you, either knowing or unknowingly. So as I said, it depends. It depends. So these ones are the widows, your in-laws come and check it. So, but nowadays, as I said, I'm not usually seeing them being taken around. I don't know if it's because of how will I put it? Is it because that this kind of myth is fading away, or it's being done in secrecy? Remember, all these things are usually done in secrecy. It's not like it's publicized or it's being advertised there on social media for now that is the social media. I'm not quite sure to that. About the mark, it used to be there, I believe, for the Maasais it's there, but most of us cannot even recognize it. It's even there in the Southern Sudanese. There's a sign there to show you so that it's clearly put. So I don't know if it's like you can't really tell which one is which until you are in that particular community. So why month of visible isolation? At this particular time, it is tend to believe that you're being given time to purify yourself, to sanctify yourself, so that whoever will come and want to get married again or married, they'll be found that they are, to some extent, they are purified or they're brand new. It's assumed so. So it depends. Some take it up to 6 months, some take it up to 1 year. Again, there's no standard stipulated time. For myself, I've only experienced the 6 months time, where it is alleged and it is said that there should be no sexual intercourse, there should be no you appearing into these funny gatherings. You should be just isolated because it's assumed that you're mourning. That's the widow or the widower for that matter. So, social exile. For up to 1 year, the widow avoids a social gathering, market, churches, weddings. Visible isolation depends on loneliness, but shields her from gossip and ensures her purity. Remember, as I was telling you, those the stuff you tie around your waist and your arm, it should be a secret because it can go both ways. Either people will mark you and antagonize you that you're undergoing this particular phase. It's like you want to get married again. It's like you never loyal to our son or to our daughter. So you're being kept in isolation. Even to some extent, I've seen some of them, they go for vacation. For those who have the funds to take care of them, they go for vacation. You just hear that they travel, or maybe they've gone to their auntie who's not known well to many people. So they just go there and spend their time. Or they just go there and start a new life. Depending it again, remember it's on a case-to-case basis. Any man who touches her risk contamination, further enforcing a quarantine. This practice highlights the community's belief in the power of touch and its role to maintain purity, balancing and protection and participation. While this widow's isolation is challenging, it ultimately protects her from gossip and ensures her purity, and the balance reflects in community complex negotiation between the participants. Protection. As I said, at this particular point, there's a lot of isolation, and most probably it also happens with the family members. It depends. It's not only the widow, the widowers. Some of them, they're just in isolation in their particular home. This one signifies they're still in the mourning process, and that they're just trying to work out what to do next. Is their mom getting married again, or is their brother taking over the reins? And if you ask me, again, as I said, it's on a case-to-case basis. Again, we go to last but not least point number 4, which is the cleansing through a stranger. Now, this one is a little bit private. This one is a little bit complicated, because trust my words that these things do happen. Again, these are just customary practices. They happen to prepare most probably the widow. About the widower also, they also happen. It goes both ways. So it's not something that only happens to a particular individual or a particular part of speculation. What really happens in this particular person? Again, remember, there's a stranger who's usually introduced into these families. Remember, these things are not spoken about. So don't expect someone to take a microphone and announce that we want to do point A, B, C, D at point 7. So what is the stranger's role? In the Luo, it's written Chodookola. Chodookola. Or Chodookola. Or Chodookola. Depends on the pronunciation. People from the Luo, there's a lot of Luos in the Luo community. There's Jokajo, Jokamolo, etc., etc. Some people call it Jaugenya, someone who's from Ugenya. Jalego, someone who's from Malego. Jakisumu is from Kisumu. Nyaimbu is from Imbu. Those are constituencies or counties for that particular matter. It's a sexual part. It's a little bit a very sensitive matter. Again, you remember, most of this nowadays, they're not being done until or unless this individual wants to get married. Most of this only apply to those individuals who want to get married, not just to any Tom, Dick, and Harry. Because if you're already of age, you're plus 50 or so, I believe you've already passed the mark. Again, it's on a case-to-case basis. Disclaimer, it's not the facts. I'm just airing my own opinions upon my own research. So a stranger often of low status is paid to lie with the widows in a ritual known as Chodookola. This act is believed to absorb evil spirits and neutralize the children, preparing her for inheritance and ensure some family safety. Communal oversight. Elders wait outside the heart to prove the consummation, turning intimacy into communal audit. This practice underscores the community's role in ensuring rituals completion and protections the family's future. I know what is going through your brains and through your minds. Yeah, get your minds off the gutter. Now, at this particular point, again, remember, these things are not widely spoken about. If it's the woman, for those who are here, you can just drop a dot for the comment section if you really underwent it. And if it's the man, if you also underwent it, just drop a dot. No need to drop your name for your own purposes. Even if you drop a dot or anything, definitely I'll be seeing your name. But remember, it's just an open word. I know these things happen. Yes. There's some who invite inside the home. Some don't. Just tell you, if you're a young person, you have to do this so that you go and have so that you're released to go and have your next life, or you can go and remarry again or get married again. So some people say it has to happen in this particular individual's house. Some people just say you can go. Nowadays we have what you call the Airbnbs or the hotel or the motel rooms. Yes, this one do happen. I'm not putting a disclaimer of that. It does really happen. You have to look for someone. That is if you want to go and get married again. And most of those people come and tell you this thing. Remember, they're telling you in secrecy. It's tend to assume they know very well you don't want to get married, or they're telling you have to get married. You're still too young. You're still too young girl. You're a young man. You can marry again. So these things will happen. You look for just anyone who wants it there. Remember, this has not to be your friend. If you're intending to get married to this particular friend of yours, it has to. It is a must. It is not any of your close friends. It's just a pass by. You can go and look for hookers outside there, and you can perform these initiations. Okay, yes, these things have to happen. How true do these things happen is what I don't know, because there's also another argument that what if you'd already married again before your husband or your wife died? Then unfortunately they died. For those who have 2, 3, 4, 5 women, or you already moved, maybe you had some misunderstanding and everyone went their ways. Someone was asking this particular question, and I got personal a bit and said, there's some bone to chew. But again, remember, the elders, they know when to act and when to react and when to attack. So depending on a case-to-case basis, because assuming you already married another woman or you started living with another woman, and your first wife passes away, maybe she's back in a country or wherever she is, she passes away and she has to be buried in your boma, would you go and still perform this? I shall tell. So that's I'll do my research and I'll air it on the next video, because that one has some weight, right? Anyone who knows it, you can just inbox me in the comment section so that you can share about this particular thing, because I came to ask myself, what of those who have for lack of a better word, people call them some bentens, or some people call them the concubines. What really happens? That's another story for another time. Let's go to our next point. Why do people go to bathe? Remember, you're bathing with cold water. Live along this modern world nowadays, there's warm water. You need to go and bathe with cold water. So again, at this particular point, some people say if you bathe with cold water and you can't finish bathing, they say that you had something to do with your husband's death or your wife's death. This one also is not usually majorly practiced. I've just encountered, I think, once or twice about it. Most of the cases, upon my research, this one's never came to pass, or there's no whisper about it. So after the cleansing act, the widow bathes herself with the herb-infused water at the river. The cold rite signifies washing away the death scent and preparing her body for new beginnings. Botanical significance: the leaves of the Olentete and the Osogo are crushed into a bath, symbolizing renewal of protection. These herbs are believed to purify the body and the spirit, when the widow is witness new role. The transition and continuity. This ritual marks the widow's transition from contaminated wife to cleansed woman, ready for continuity. It underscores the community's belief in power of nature to heal and protect. Again, it's also debatable, because some people say there's some leaves that you just bathe with them. It doesn't have necessarily to be the cold water. Though some people say it has to be the cold water by the river. So what if there's no river within your 10-kilometer radius where you guys are living? Again, most of these acts are on a case-to-case basis, because if you ask this elder people tell you have to do this. So I'm like, why are you reading these things? Why don't you just give me the whole script and read for myself? It's like you're doing an exam. You don't only read for the questions, read everything. You don't know where the question will be coming in from. So the question I ask these people, why don't you give me the book so that I read it? I know everything. So in case this doesn't happen, you have to plan B. You have a choice of A, B, C, D. And you're like, it's not scripted somewhere. So again, it's a debatable. So that's why there's herbal baths and rebirth. So this is what you call the inheritance and the shaving. Now, this is where a lot of people also get confused. There's been a lot of rumors about it, of what really happens at this particular juncture. And most of the times, nowadays again, I don't see it. Either during the burial, after the widow or the widowers and the people left behind, that's the kids, usually shave bald shaving, bald completely. This symbolizes that they are still in the mourning session. They're still mourning. Though I don't see it happening nowadays necessarily, because they say this is old cliche. So it happens to some families, those who are still believing on these kinds of admirations or aspirations. Again, it's on a case-to-case basis. They have to shave baldly. So what happens in this particular time is where you can just try and shave your bald head. Remember, as I was touching about, the brother-in-law takes the role. Yeah, the deceased brother steps in to provide daily support. Sleeping in separate hut is a symbol of the husband. This acts ensures the family continuity and protects the widow and the widow. That is, if these people are so cultural, preservative, or maybe they don't want the young wife to go away because of maybe a wealth or fortune, or it goes a long way. Or maybe to some there's something they're waiting for. She's like the only heir. Whoever died was the only heir to this family, and they need the keys or the great keys. Most probably, if maybe most of the people in that family are either not married or to some extent are just demonized. These families got a lot of things that are happening outside there. So most of the time they tend to hold to the wife. About the husband, definitely stay in the home, so it's not a big deal, because definitely he'll marry again. But for the women, with the widows, most of the time they say they get married. Now, here's where people get it jinx again. You'll continue having your own house because the part of the roof has been removed, or part of the door, as it was said. What I don't understand is, where do you guys come and lay? Because definitely it's not inside or on top of the bed of your previous husband or the deceased. To some extent, some people say that you go and do your business outside there in the hotel, or somewhere else, or in a neighbor's house or somewhere, because you need to say kids. That one I've seen, because I know someone who, that lady continues having kids, and I've been asking myself a question like, And for most women, for those who are coming from the Nyanza area or the Luo Nyanza, it goes by the word lago. And there are men who they are very well, perfectly, that's part of their job. But I know it happens in most communities again. That is part of their job. Lagomon, they take men, or his work is to sleep with men who've lost their husbands, and women who've lost their husbands, pardon me, and they need to still sire some kids for that particular, because to some extent maybe the wife doesn't want to go, and definitely kids is a source of wealth in most communities. Then we've got what we call the sexual union and continuity, which a sexual union may follow to bear children to attribute to the deceased. The protection ensures that the family lineage remains intact while providing the widow with protection and companionship. Then we have the modern negotiation. In modern time, couple negotiate on sexual support and balance tradition with autonomy and health concern. Adoption reflects the community involved in values and priorities. Then we have community role. The community enforces the practice to maintain prosperity and lineage, ensuring the family's prosperity. It underscores the complex interplay between tradition, protection, and yes. There was these cases of health issues, because if this person was affected with HIV, maybe the husband died because of HIV, you can't go deep in your stick in every hole again. Or what if the person, the brother, is left and maybe to some extent they're having some kind of infectious disease of the particular age. That's why there's a rumor that a lot of Luo Nyanza, why the AIDS had spread too much, is because of this issue of inheritance. I was telling people, like, you want to tell me people die every day? It's only the men who die every day again. So it's a debate, but the statistics, according to the World Health Organization, stroke the United Nations, Luo Nyanza has actually dropped. Those figures have dropped. You will be surprised where those numbers are actually currently coming so high, just in Kenya. In fact, the people who used to point fingers at the Luo Nyanza, unfortunately, they're the ones who are affected by that particular menace. So, according to the modern world, this inheritance is being swept away with. Even if it's happening in low tones. People don't speak about them so loudly, people don't speak about them in verbally, or they just speak about them in low tones. Reasons why it's best. For the men, some of them are being told to marry their wife's sisters. I've not heard, I've not seen anyone understand it. So I'll leave it at that. But unless someone has got some input, again, the floor is open. You can put it down on the comments section. The heading, the shaving, that one I told you about. You have to shave the bald head. 4 days after the burial, the inheritor shaves the widow's head, usually called Liedo. Liedo is just shaving the bald head. Liedo, head shaving straight. Her rebirth into widowhood, and marks the end of mourning, inviting the community to recognize her new status. That one, I'm sure it still happens into some other communities or some other families. Final feast and legacy. Romo, the grave. Romo is meeting at the graveside meal. Here, 1 year later, the widow and the inheritor share a meal of chicken and millets. Beside the grave is a ritual called Romelea. This act signifies a final farewell to the deceased. Now, if the wife was inherited in some way, it should happen. But still, it's not a must that she has been inherited. Some people just come and meet for a feast to say that they're letting the deceased to fare thee well. That word people usually misuse around. Fare thee well, fare thee well, fare thee well. There's got a very much a deeper meaning to some people. Then we have dancing follow-up the meal until sunset, dispersing remaining sorrow. This communal celebration underscores the community's role in supporting the widow's transition and healing. Then the burning memory, personal items of deceased are burned, converting decoration attachment to the smoke and carries the mockery skill. This act symbolizes the release of grief and the continuation of life. Now here, some of them don't usually take a year. It happens maybe a month or 2 months after, where the belongings of the deceased, if it is a man, they are being given to the brother to like give away, or the sons who remained, and maybe the wife remains with a couple of them just as remembrance, something that she'll value, she'll remember the husband with. Same applies also if the vice versa. You call the sisters of the wife if the wife is deceased, and you'll say give away her things to the friends and family of relatives. Though there's some families again they don't usually like taking. Now let me talk of those taking. Some of the families, if they come from the man's side or the wife's side, they say they don't like to take. They don't like to be associated with the dead person's things. But the question I ask them, those who go and buy second-hand clothes, do you know where the owners of those things are? And again, someone said that what you don't know will never kill you. So again, it's debatable. So most of the times, these things are usually distributed. I'm only encountered once. Those are being banned, but again, why would you ban clothes and there's someone with them? Why don't you contribute them to the children? So again, as I said, this it depends. It's on a case-to-case basis at this particular point. It's only the clothing, basically not the car. Not, let's get it said, don't get it twisted. Not the people who've got cars, not that they're distributing your homes, not that they're distributing your kettle. No. Personal effects, not really. Maybe the clothing, because maybe someone knows no one else will be there. If maybe the sons are there, or maybe the family, it's only the daughters who are maybe. Or maybe the sons are still too young. Okay. So most of the things are usually being given. For example, I took my grandfather's seat. I actually liked it. He used to really love it. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Some people take the cape. Some people take the whisk. Some people take the coat. Some people take even the suit. Even some of the brothers, or now the in-laws, then take something that they'll be remembering the brother. Then they will wear it and put their heads very high, saying, "This was my brother's suit. I'm wearing it in remembrance of him." So again, it's on a case-to-case basis. Again, some families have got that kind of thought that they don't want to be associated with the dead person's items or belongings. I tend to say, let everyone carry their own cross, because God is for us all at the end of the day. So these are just supposed to mention a few of these issues or silent stories or myths or customs that the Luo perform when an individual has already been buried. Some of them might be during the burial processes. some will be after the burial processes. So it's a resilience that publicly poised endures each hidden right, transforming relation into stewardship and religious ideas. This in regards to either quite complex case family legitimacy, what she writes in health and advocacy. And again, nowadays people have got what you call the written will. Will is a document you write where you want your assets to go to ABCD, that piece of land, blah, 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 this company. Yes. If you're having that kind of big family, that maybe most of the times you find you have 2, 3, or 4 wives. Again, not necessarily must have with them, but for these wealthy people, most of these kind of customs are usually written for them. So, without saying ado, I'll still mention and repeat that these are my thoughts, these are my findings. This is just the primary customs and rituals that usually undertaken by the Luo community. We have the secondary and the university ones. They're not spoken about in public places. Someone usually calls you inside your house. In fact, most of them come during the final day of resting your husband or your wife, and they tell you have to do A, B, C, D. And then they'll come to check if you did it. I've never heard of someone who's lying to them, because most of them, they have experience in this particular thing. So on rare occasions will you hear or will you see them just saying about these things. So again, as I said, it's on a case-to-case basis. People of the internet, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being with me. Thank you very much for subscribing to this particular channel, and thank you very much for joining this community. Remember, by you subscribing to this channel, by you liking this page, this kind of information will reach a very big number of people, so that we stop having those misguided thoughts and ideas of what usually happens. So these things, as I said, it's on a case-to-case basis. So if you like this particular video, you can share that comment and you can share it to a friend, to avoid those speculations that have been going around there about the Luo community. I'm one of them. We are Kenyans, and I feel so bad when you just claim a story and you can't substantiate. Remember, whoever claims must prove. So stop speculating about people sleeping with the dead. Stop speculating about this issue where the dead has to be put inside the bedroom there. Stop speculating this issue of eating this kind of food alone. No. Without further ado, thank you very much for joining this particular session. Check you out in the next one. My name is Kunguru 87.